Welcome to Mastering the Art of Real Estate. Mastering the Art of Success. I'm your host, Debbi DiMaggio. We are here today with Gary Wilson. He is coming to us from Pennsylvania. He divides his time between Pennsylvania and Virginia. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm actually, it's the first show I'm doing for my brand new creative space. I don't like to call it office, I call it creative space. So, um, yeah, I'm glad
That's
we
great.
pulled this together.
You're in
Yeah,
Pennsylvania today?
I am. I've been working all week long to get my creative space ready. It's about 100%, but it's all wired and ready to rock and roll. I appreciate your
Wow.
patience.
Oh, I'm excited that you're here. Gary and I met because I was a guest on his podcast and we became fast friends and we are very like-minded, real estate, coaching, etc. So I'm going to properly introduce you and we'll go through your slideshow and then we're going to find out how Gary's journey from the beginning to where we are today. So Gary Wilson is a transformational coach, motivational speaker, and former executive dedicated to helping individuals and teams unlock their full potential. With over 2 decades of experience in leadership development, performance coaching, and mindset transformation, Gary combines strategic insight with personal empowerment. His coaching philosophy centers on clarity, accountability, and consistent action, empowering clients to overcome self-limiting beliefs and achieve meaningful success. Whether addressing corporate audiences or mentoring emerging leaders, Gary's engaging approach and authentic storytelling inspire lasting growth and results. Well, there's the young Gary. Look,
Well, I
that's great.
appreciate
Yep.
that. It's always funny when you hear somebody talk about you because it's very humbling. And
Yes.
I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to help others. And you know me, Debbie, I'm an open book. I mean, anything you want to ask, I'm happy to
Well,
share
I'm
because
very
Lord knows I didn't get where I was myself. I definitely had help. Yeah.
I'm so grateful you're here today to help the people, our guests who are listening. So, first, before we launch into all your experience, where did you grow up? Where were you raised? What was life like? And did you know back then what you wanted to do or where you ended up in your career?
Sure. It's interesting. I'll try to make this as quickly as possible. I was actually born in Germany, right on the Czechoslovakian border, and this was January 5th, 1963. And as you recall, 62 is when they built the Eastern Bloc countries built the Berlin Wall and the Iron Curtain. So, short version is, turns out my dad was actually undercover right there on that border. I didn't know that till a few years ago. And I was born in the middle of a blizzard, and they were supposed to take me by ambulance for my mother to Nuremberg for the hospital. It's like, maybe 15-minute drive away from Grafenwöhr where we were. But it was the biggest blizzard of the decade, 15-foot drifts. They had to fly us in a helicopter. And Stars and Stripes magazine was there when I landed, and it's just crazy set of circumstances. My first 2 hours were in a helicopter going up and down, back and forth. The nurse screaming because she was strapped into a bumper seat. My mom was wearing the nurse's coat, strapped into a gurney, and the pilots just kept saying, "Just hang on, just work." They couldn't see anything. So my mom kept telling me for years. She passed away last January. She told me every year the story of my birth. And she said, your entire life has been like that, like a roller coaster in the middle of a hurricane. And she said, you smiled the whole time. And like the downhill slopes were the exhilarating, of course, it's, moments of sheer terror. but that set the pace for my life. I love life, living that way. I love a life of adventure, travel. And I wake up, Debbie, I swear I have caffeine in my blood. I don't know what it is, but I wake up usually 4 in the morning and I just go till about 10 o'clock at night. And when I sleep, I am asleep for a solid 6 hours. And I just same thing. It's just the way my life's been. But anyways, as far as real estate goes, I was
Wow, that is,
determined I was going to go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just said, incredible beginning to your life.
Yeah. Yeah. But as far as real estate goes, I was always fascinated with houses ever since I could, do math. And I started drawing house plans. One of my best friends, Kevin McKinney, his dad was an architect, and he lived this amazing cantilevered home where you had to walk over a bridge to get to the home, and it was looking over a lake, and it was 360 degrees glass. It was a square home, but all glass all the way around. And I'm like, I'm going to be an architect. And this was when the Brady Bunch was out, when, the dad was an architect. So I started drawing house plans based on the frontal view. That's all I knew. When my mom saw me doing this for fun, and turns out my grandfather taught architecture at university, 60 years before. So for Christmas that year, my mom got me a complete drawing kit with everything, the drawing board, the T-square, the compass, and everything. And my grandfather taught me all the steps of, the scaling, the symbols, everything related to floor plans. And I still draw floor plans today. I've designed 2 of my own homes. Um, I didn't get into architecture as a profession. I did get into investing. And that was another story. Started off with my freshman year in college, you know.
So that started.
Mm.
So yes, wow, that's incredible. But I'm sure in real estate you used those design skills
Yeah,
throughout your career. So when did you pivot into investing? Where were you in college? And yeah, where did you attend and how did you get into investing in your freshman year?
sure. Just another great story. So I was going to go to Virginia Tech for School of Architecture, but where we live was so far out in the woods, nobody ever really went to college. So I went to college, the high school counselor knew what to do with me. He said, well, apply for School of Architecture. It's what you want. You got the grades, you got the SAT. Turns out I didn't. I mean, you had to have like the maximum best of SAT scores. So Virginia Tech called me in an interview and they said, we really like you, but why didn't your counselor tell you to apply to general studies just to get in? And then you take a few classes and transfer in architecture. And I said, it's first I've heard of this. So I ended up going to Old Dominion down by the ocean. They call it the School by the Sea, and took computer science. But before I started, Debbie, what's cool is at the orientation, like midsummer, you take the placement exams for English and math and all that. And there I met my one of my best friends in life now, Socrates. And he and I were palling around together. We went back to the student center. Turns out our parents were sitting there talking to each other. And we were like, we got to be roommates, man. So we called the housing people at this campus and they let us be roommates. And that his dad was a big investor in Richmond, Virginia. And when we graduated college, we were going to go rent like most people do. And he said, no, you're not. You're going to buy a house and I'm going to help you. He didn't mean give us money. He never gave us a dime, but he showed us how to structure a deal for a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom rancher in Virginia Beach, 5 minutes from the ocean. And that was, I thought, and holy cow, this is really easy. I'm going to invest. And I'll tell you more about that later, but that's how that whole thing started. And that was
Wow.
probably one of the biggest, most pivotal moments of my entire life. That one episode right there defined the path of the next 40 years. It'll be 40 years this January. Hard to believe, you know?
Wow. So did you rent out the rooms? Did you guys each have a room and rented out the other two rooms?
We did. If you remember, interest rates were still pretty high back then. So what we did is we assumed the owner's first mortgage. He was an active duty Navy, in the Navy. We assumed his first VA mortgage. We refinanced his second, and we gave him a third note for the remaining equity, a third mortgage. And then the other 2 bedrooms we rented out to 2 other guys. And Debbie, their combined rent pretty much paid all of our mortgage payments, other than like $50 a piece. And so I was we would call ourselves original house hackers. We didn't call it house hacking back then. We just called it trying to make ends meet. So, but
It's incredible. So
yeah.
then after that, did you go on to do more of this?
So here's what happened. I ended up getting married. I met my future wife in Virginia Beach, and she was from Pennsylvania, where I am now. And 2 years later, we got married, and then Sock bought me out because of the laws. His dad said, I think it's better if you'd let Sock buy you out. And I said, sure. So I had a total of 3,000 into the house, pulled out eight on the agreement. We had 8,000. So 3,000 to 8,000 in 2 years. And I had $50 out of pocket every month for my own home. So Susan and I went and bought another brand new home about a mile from the ocean. And then so we started having children. I didn't actually start investing in a large scale way until I was 35 years old. So that would have been like 1997. And I remember thinking, man, I wish I'd have done what Sock's dad told me. Because at the closing table, Debbie, I'm sorry, no, after the closing, we went to Nags Head, North Carolina, where his Sock's dad had a couple beach houses. And he's pounding his chest. And he's saying, if you boys do what I tell you to do, you won't have to work for anybody else when you're 35 years old. Well, I didn't listen. Sock and I, neither one of us did. We bought boats and cars, all kinds of stuff. In any case, 35 years old, I'm in the corporate world, hating it. I was not born to be sitting behind a desk. So I decided I've got to do something about it. And I thought, I'm going to do what Mr. DeMett taught me. And I started investing at 35 years old. When I was 40 years old, I had 70 some odd units. And I walked out one day. I told my boss, I said, I don't have to work here anymore. And he was actually happy for me. They knew I was buying properties. They thought I had like 13 units. They had no idea I
Wow.
had 72.
So
And,
let's break it for our
yep,
audience. So how did you buy that? You had bought the one with your friend Socrates, and then when you were 35, you decided to start investing again. How did you
yep.
buy that first, second property? Give
So
us an
really
outline.
what I did was I'm pretty good with math and logic. So I just laid everything out. I said, you know what? I had about 50,000 in cash that I'd saved up. I had my 401k, which was separate, had all that going. I was getting promoted, 5 weeks vacation, had the whole thing. But when I was looking at the properties, I thought, I know I can do owner financing and this, and at the time, assumable mortgage had gone from non-qualifying, which means you could just sign a piece of paper, to qualifying, where you had to actually get approved like you would for your own first mortgage. So I thought, you know what? I got great credit. I'm going to go ahead and use the bank money because it was cheaper, and I had great credit, and I had 50,000 bucks. So it allowed me to buy 3 properties, putting 20% down. So I got 2 fourplexes and a triplex, like in the first month of making this
And
big
what
commitment.
did those cost, those properties?
These were two. I'm sorry, what was that?
What was the price of those homes, those
Oh
units,
my
those?
gosh. Oh, 100,000 for the 1 fourplex, 80,000 for the other fourplex, and the
Wow.
triplex was that was cheap. That was like 40,000 or something. I mean, it took a lot of work.
But
So
you bought
what I,
three off the start with your 50 and leveraged it with the bank. That's is incredible.
so I had instant equity. I had cash flow. The banks loved me because, of course, the properties were standing on their own. And what I did, Debbie, is I went out and bought. So then my cash was exhausted. So what I did then is I took out a home equity loan on my home, got 25,000 there. And then I took out a personal line of credit, which is not secured. I got 25,000 there, so I had another 50, right? Then I went out and bought several more properties. And that next year, using secondary credit for down payments, I bought 7 more properties. I had a total of 10 properties in 30 units by the end of the first year. And I was cash flowing. I literally could have left the bank at that point. I could have retired right then. The cash flow, my net for the properties was matching my net from my job. But I didn't want to do that because it wasn't where I wanted it to be to have the lifestyle I wanted. So here's what I did. And this is a game of discipline. I want to really encourage everybody to really listen to this. When you have success investing, it's going to go to your head. I can promise you. You're going to think you're a genius and you're king of the world, and you're going to start being too aggressive. That's what I did. Don't be like me. Be better than me. So I decided what to do was I'm going to take the next year off from investing. I'm going to fix up all those properties, raise all the rents, and I'm going to pay down those secondary loans, which I did in a year's time. I had all the secondary debt paid down. So I had only primary mortgages, first mortgages, I had more cash flow, and I had better properties, so they were worth more money. And guess what I found? I found a private lender he was a commercial lender because I was going to get a commercial loan for my next big property. And he looked at what I had and he said, "Look, I tell you what, I also do private lending." I said, "Tell me more." And he gave me an 11% mortgage. It wasn't hard money, it was just private money that encumbered the equity across all 10 properties. And it was like 100 something thousand dollars. That maybe it's 200,000. That allowed me to go get a 9 unit building and pay cash for it. With that,
Wow.
remember, it was not secure. It wasn't. He drew up liens, but he didn't record them. He said, if you sneeze wrong, I'm going to record these liens. I said, don't worry. I'd rather die than screw up. So I took that 9 unit, fixed it up, raised all the rents, refinanced it so it had its own first mortgage that allowed me to pay off the it was called a blanket or business blanket loan against the equity. Paid that off, and he allowed me to keep open the line of credit. But guess what he did for me, Debbie? When I got that 9 unit under its own first mortgage with higher equity and higher rents, guess what he did for me?
What did he do?
He raised the limit on the line of credit. So I went
Oh,
out.
nice.
Then I did the next one and the next one. Next thing you know, I mean, I'm sitting on, this took a couple of years because I would leverage to the hilt, then I'd fix them up, pay down the leverage, raise the rent, so I'd have ample cash, ample equity, and ample cash flow. So I'm going to give everybody my numbers. These are my numbers, and I suggest you do something similar. The banks always want to know that if you're going to borrow money, that no more than one third of your take-home money, your W-2 income plus your passive income from your investments, that your debt is no more than one third of all your income. So I took that to heart. So what I would do is during the year that I was aggressively growing, I would go to 80% leverage. To me, it was very risky. Other people go 90, 100%. I'm too conservative. So I went to 80%. But by the end of the year, the next year, I'd build the equity, right? Build up the cash flow. So my leverage then was back down to one third, two thirds, one third equity, two thirds debt. That on the balance sheet, that would be the asset liability side, right? And then the cash flow, I always want to make sure my mortgage payments were no more than one third of my cash flow, right? So I had, one third equity, and I had one third of my cash flow was devoted to debt. So I had two thirds of my cash flow available for, utilities, repairs, vacancies, and of course, cash flow. When I got to that point, here's the other part. So remember this: one third, two thirds, right? On one third equity, two thirds debt, and on the cash flow, two thirds debt and one third cash flow. Then when I retired, my requirement was I needed to have enough cash flow coming in to more than exceed my bank income, plus pay for vacations and pay for my lifestyle, which is what I did. And I wanted to have enough cash capital available to be able to do 4 projects. A project being either I'm buying something, I'm remodeling it, I'm marketing it to sell, or I'm refinancing, right? So I did basically the Burr method: buy, remodel, rent, refinance. And that's literally what I did for the next several years until I bought a 90 unit building. And I'm like, I mean, how much more do I need? That was my thought. I remember thinking, how much more do I need? And because I was working off, missing my kids, I thought I'm going to stop right then. And unfortunately, I went through a divorce. As soon as I stopped, working so hard, my life was like, well, I don't know who you are anymore, and
Oh,
I'm going to take off. So it was okay. It ended up being a blessing. I mean, I'm living in the same town with her now. We're in the same zip code, and we share
is
our
it
children.
90? So that was a 90 unit building you bought was maybe not the last, but you bought the 90 units. So then so you have all this experience and a lot of connections. And then did you go into what was next? Did you go into selling real estate
So here's
and
what happened. Yeah, about the time I was leaving the bank, I left the bank in August of 2003. In January 2002, I got my real estate license because I wasn't able to find agents who were really able to help me. Wonderful people, but their brokerages, the Caldwell Bank or Remax, the big box companies, were not teaching their agents on the residential side how to work with investors. And I realized that because I would ask them questions. They would say, "Oh yeah, I can help you. I know all about investing." None of them invested, and none of them really knew how to analyze and evaluate properties thoroughly and accurately. So I thought, I'm going to get my license. So I got my license. Well, about the same time, no, I'm sorry, it's maybe 6 months later, a local guru, one of the people that teach all this stuff, how to get rich in real estate, um, invited me to be on his radio show. He must have heard about me. Somebody told him about me, whatever the case was. He invited me in a Saturday morning business program. This is when radio was still big. And I said, I was flattered. I said, really, me? And he said, yeah, you're a freaking rock star. I said, well, my wife doesn't think so, but okay, I'll come do the radio show. So I did the radio show, showed up at 8 o'clock in the morning, wearing my hippie beads and, I had my surfer shirt and everything. And he called me Monday and he said, I need to work with you. He said, I sold more training programs on Saturday and Sunday than any other time in my business after your appearance. He said, because people kept saying, that guy seemed like a real guy, like a real person. He's not like a polished speaker.
right?
And I wasn't. I didn't know anything about speaking. And he said, would you come by and have lunch with the guys every now and then? I said, absolutely, So I went in on a Saturday, had lunch, and everybody wanted to have lunch with me. So I went to this restaurant that could take 25 people. And they found out I had my license, and they're all like, can you be my realtor? Well, guess what I said? I said, no, I don't do that. And after about 100 times, my wife probably was right. She said, are you stupid? God's trying to tell you something. You've got another line of business you can create. And sure enough, the next class I went in, I said, look, I know you're all going to want me to do this to help me be your realtor, but I really don't do that. But I will take two of you. I'll take two of you out. Well, every hand went up. Everybody wanted to be the two. And then it's when it hit me. I got a business model here. So I created it called Investor Agent. And I never spent a dime on marketing. They told their friends and neighbors and relatives, and it just grew and grew and grew. My first year.
Is that how you began your team? You started your team like from
Not
the
even
beginning?
then. I did 110 transactions my first year, all by
With
myself.
So not with the other agents that you brought on. That was just you.
No, those are realtors. I mean, I'm sorry, those were investors. Those weren't agents. Those were investors. I was
Oh, okay.
teaching them. So my
You were
deal was with the investors.
when you started selling, and were you selling homes and
Yeah.
units or both?
So here's
All
what
right.
happened.
Wait.
I
We got to
told.
go to commercial break. We'll be right back with
Okay.
Gary Wilson to finish
Okay.
this story and hear more.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical. Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk.
Welcome back to Mastering the Art of Success. I'm your host, Debbi DiMaggio. We are here with Gary Wilson. We're right in the middle of a story. So Gary started out just buying property. Well, started out working in a bank and then started investing in property as the father of his roommate Socrates inspired him to do. And then now he was on a radio show and then they decided that he needed to be in real estate. So everyone wanted to be your client. So they raised their hand. They said, I want to invest with Gary Wilson. And so you went on to sell many houses, but tell us the rest of that story.
So what I did is I required them to go through the training that this other guy was offering because I had taken it. So I understood what he was saying. And he was spot on. He was a really good investor. And I said that I'm going to work with them if they follow all the procedures properly for investing. And I require 3% of any transaction, any sale, whether the seller paid me or not. The buyer would have to pay if the seller didn't. That was my requirement. I was back in hindsight, I should have charged a lot more. But in any case, I did 110 transactions that first year, Debbi, and I had no help, no assistance. It was just me and my truck and my computer, and we just crushed it. I was written up in articles, put on the stage. All I had no clue. I was like Forrest Gump. Like, I'm just, what, really? What? So, I laugh about it now, but it's exactly what happened. So here's what I realized. At the brokerage I was at, there was 30 agents. Like maybe I was 30 or 31. He actually told me at the end of my anniversary year there, when he said I need a picture to put in this paper in a magazine because you broke all the records. He said, you outperformed all the other agents at the office combined. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he said, no. And it's just my work ethic. I'm just a freaking workhorse. So I realized I should start my own brokerage. This is what I did. So I took everything I knew, put it in the educational format, started a brokerage called Winrothy Advisors. And I launched a debt. This is funny too. January 2008, right when the recession was just kicking in full steam. And Remax, everybody was losing agents left and right. I grew sixfold in those first 3 years of the recession. They're all trying to buy me. Caldwell Banker, Remax, KW, you name it. I kept saying, no, 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 no. I finally struck a deal and I got a multiple of 3, which I found out later is incredible because you usually get a multiple of 1 or 1.5 max. And I still get paid on some what I call residuals on that. All these years later, it's been 13 years, and I still get
Because
paid on residuals on that.
these are agents under you or who are on your
Yeah,
team, part of you.
it
So
did. I built a team of 111 agents there in 3 states. So the agreement is they give me a multiple of 3 as long as I teach their agents how to do what I did. And I'm like, sure, because I found out I really like teaching. I get a kick out of helping people go from point A to point B. And today, Debbie, I'm come back here to Pittsburgh. I'm running into these guys out at the club and in the golf course. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And they're like, hey, man, we retired. What are you doing? You're only 40 years old. He said, but so are you. We did what you told us and we're retired. Not even working. They're like, I can't help it. I have to work. If I didn't work, anybody around me I'd be driving them crazy. So, but in any case, I
we're all
created.
so I always try to make sure people understand where it came from. So it appears from your story, what I'm hearing is, well, you had a niche, so you Forrest Gumped into this to meet the guy the coach who interviewed you, and then he had a ton of people, so you automatically had a huge group of people to sell
Oh,
to,
yeah.
and
And money
so
people too.
went on
Yeah.
to teach the other agents who didn't have this whole
Yeah.
playground of people to client, a whole client base just at their fingertips. How did you teach them to replicate?
Yeah.
Because that's replicatable. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
um, they don't have the base that you had from this guy introducing you.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely gave me a good start. But so what I did is I created training content and I paid for people to help me create that. So all the agents that joined me, I required them to take my training on working with investors, which meant they had to learn how to invest themselves. I didn't make them invest because you can't actually do that, but I wanted to put them in a position to invest. So I did that. I never had to advertise for agents. I never recruited. I never cold called. They were coming to me. All 50 of those first 50 agents, every one of them came to me. Now, I'll give everybody, all the agents that are listening right now, this is really important. I know the pandemic put a lot of us in our homes behind a computer screen on Zoom. I'm one of them. But I'm telling you, this is a relationship business. I don't care what happens with AI. AI is running my life right now. I'm using AI to do tasks that I used to pay people to do. That's how big I am to AI. But it's still a relationship business. So you've got to join clubs. You've got to go out there and associate and be with people. So go to a local investor club and join it. In fact, join a couple of clubs. Get to know the contractors, the inspectors, the attorneys, the lenders, the appraisers. Get to know all these people that are going to be your partners in business, and they will bring you business. When they know you know what you're doing, those lenders are going to knock on your door every darn day to bring you new clients because they know you know what you're doing. You'll also be able to invest yourself, and more importantly, you will absolutely meet the investors. Now, I'm going to tell you this, and a lot of you probably are going to keep doing what you're doing, but you want to find the investors who are successful in doing things the right way. You don't want to find people that are trying to cut corners and be cheap. because you're going to get cheap results and they won't last. They're going to flush out, guaranteed. But the people that buy the right properties, the right way, put in the right tenants, are not only going to survive, they're going to thrive. And you'll have clients doing 10, 20, 30, 40 deals with you in a period of years. Do those few things and you can replicate my success. So what happened, Debbie's, I sold my brokerage because I didn't want to be in Pittsburgh anymore. I was going through a divorce. And the agreement was I would train all these people. And I ran all over the US and Canada for about 8 years, training literally a different city, different state almost every day. It was insane. But I tell you what, I did really well. And I got to see all of North America. And I perfected the art of teaching people. So the way I teach is I don't just lecture and give them a manual and pat them on the back. I actually get intimately, personally involved with them. It's called guided training. So when I'm on Zoom, I tell them, share your screen and let's go into your CRM. I'm going to look at your records. And we find the records, contact records for people who are actually engaging with them. Some agents don't even know that clients are engaging with them. They're leaving messages on Facebook and texting, and they're clueless. It's sitting in their CRM. They don't even know it. So I say, this is a 5-star. This is a 3-star. This is a 1-star. And I tell them, we're going to call the 1-star. I mean, the 5 stars right now. Call the 5 stars. Let's do it. And lo and behold, they get business. That's the kind of training I do. It's like military style. I'm not going to tell you go to the front and shoot. I'm going to go with you to the front and shoot. And that's
So
how these guys are successful.
you have to pick up the phone right there and make calls.
Absolutely. And I don't fool around. I'm telling you, my time is precious. And I tell people don't do the work. You know what I tell them? I say, look, I've got kids and I have a lot of friends all over. I do a lot of fun things. If you're going to take me away from my family and my friends, it's going to cost you money. And if you're not going to make these calls, let's move on. And maybe there's something else you should do. And I thought I say it politely. I love these people. Believe me, they become family too. But I just have low tolerance for people who are not performers. You've got to actually swing the bat. Good Lord. If every agent out there listening right now would call 5 people a day in their sphere, and that's minimal. They should be calling more like 20 a day, just not to sell something, just to say, hey, I just want to see how the house is going you bought last year. You know what? I remember you flipped that one in Carlsbad 2 years ago. I know it was a big deal, but tell me, what was the end result? So I'll have these conversations with them, and lo and behold, it creates front of mind presence. And so when they meet somebody at church or work or school who's got to move, they'll say, you got to call Gary Wilson's guys. He's got agents all over the country. And we do. We're in 38 states now.
Wow.
They know we know what we're doing. And here's the killer part. We don't ever compete for listings, even owner-occupant listings. You know why? Because I tell the agents, make sure they know you know how to invest and work with investors. Because smart people understand money. The reason they have money is because they're smart with money. When they know you know what to do with real estate, you're going to get the listing because you're making money in the business where other agents are just commission breath. They just need a transaction to survive. Where these guys are helping people invest in real estate. I mean, who would you work with if you were not an agent? You'd probably work with the person that helps people become millionaires.
No, absolutely. So what I'm hearing, because I work with a lot of new agents who come into our office and agents who've been in the office for a while and aren't finding success. So what I'm trying to impose right now on one of our newer agents who's on our team, and she's great because there are a lot of people who don't follow through, a lot more than not follow. There's very few, the 80-20 rule, right? So I've been just drilling into her about just, you've got a mentor in me. Let's, take the time, but you have to make the time. Let's put it on the calendar and let's do the work. And I said, right now, from another podcast, I interviewed someone when this other woman started, she was new and she knew one person in Chicago. And what she led by was she can learn everything. She didn't have experience yet, but she can learn. And what you are doing in the way you're teaching and also giving them tasks to do, but they could be knowledgeable and learn and practice and know the inventory and know everything there is to know. They can impart that information and knowledge onto their client to gain them, thus gaining experience. So in the beginning, when you're not selling anything because you're new, just this is the time to really become knowledgeable about your craft. So I just want to highlight that because that's what I was hearing from you.
Yeah. Well, our formula, or my formula that I communicate with everybody is it's success is a result of three-part mathematical formula. Part one is you have to have the right education. Part two is you have to have the right information. And the cool thing about the right education, it shows you how to get and use the right information. And part three is you got to take the right action. When you have the right education, right information, right action, you are going to get the right results. I'm not saying the tree's not going to fall on your house and cause headaches. That's stuff's going to happen. But the things you can control are what goes on between your ears and what you do with the 24 hours you're having a day. You're in 100% control of that. And it's up to you to decide if you're going to scoot along through life the way you're going. If you're happy, that's great. But if you know that there's more out there and you're wondering how to do it, I'm telling you, there's lots of ways to make money, but this is one of the most sure ways to do it. It's real estate. People need food, shelter, and clothing, and you're offering one of the three. Make a business out of it. I mean, get organized, get structured, be intentional. And if you don't have the passion in your heart, please, Lord, do yourself a favor. Find something else because we got one shot at this thing called life. Why spend one moment doing something you don't like? I'm not trying to be mean here. Listen, for everybody listening, I'm trying to give you the most loving thing I can do in the world, which is the truth. You deserve to be happy. Okay. Now, I suggest you do it the right way. Work with someone like Debbi. Let her teach you. I know she's awesome because that's why we're together. I mean, we met. It was like instant karma. I mean, I call her my sister from another mister. I'm telling you, she knows what she's doing in East Bay and beyond. I mean, actually multiple places in California. That's right. You go down to Southern California too. California, people think you can't buy and sell out there. You sure can. It's all relative. I know it's more expensive, but everything else, you make more money. You pay more taxes. Everything's more, but because you live in paradise. So we call it the sunshine tax. So enjoy being in California if you're in California. And if you're elsewhere in the country, Debbi can still help you. I know she knows her marketing. I tell you. It works in Florida, works in New York. You need to work with someone like Debbi. If you want to work with me, I'm happy to do that. But start with Debbi because most agents freak out when it comes to investors. And I don't want to force you to do that if you don't want to,
Well, I wanted to ask this later because we want to get into your coaching and your keynote speaking. But because I have a few agents that I really want to work with and I really want to see them find success, and they want to do it, and they're doing their open houses and putting out door knockers. But give me something that I can go back to these two guys and say, here is a list. Okay, it's not my list. It's going to be Gary's list. So maybe they're tired of listening to me, but give me something that they should do in a day, in a week. Just give me some actionable items I can take back to them.
Well, here's what I do with my folks. When they first come on board, I don't care if they're brand new or they're seasoned veterans. I don't even turn on any marketing for them. I don't even let them pay for any marketing until their database is fully loaded with their contacts, everything, name, address, phone number, serial number, everything. And they have automated campaigns going like a monthly market update for every person, including their aunts, uncles, and cousins. When an agent tells me, I don't want to bother these people, they're my family, you're not bothering them. You're serving them. Think of it this way. You're coming from service and contribution. Who else do you want them working with to sell their house? A stranger or someone like you who loves them and is going to take care of them? So change your mindset. If you find yourself saying, I don't want to bother my people, you got the wrong mindset. Love on them, serve them, treat them like gold because they are. And then they'll tell all their friends and neighbors. But in any case, you've got to categorize your people into three categories. Level one, the people you know and love the most, and vice versa. Level two, your acquaintances, maybe your kids play soccer together, right? Just talk in the grocery store, but that's about it. Number three is everybody else. The number ones, you should be calling every 90 days at a minimum. Spread it out through the 90 days. So you're not doing all in one day. Spread it out through the 90 days. The number two people should be calling a minimum every 180 days, right? Spread it out over the 180. Everybody else, you should be calling at least once a year. I can tell you this, if you look at a centrifugal circle of your clients and a centrifugal circle of your marketing, the innermost circle on clients is number one. Innermost circle number one on marketing is direct communication, in person or over the phone. Texting is direct, but it's not personal. It has to be direct and personal every 90 days. Okay. And I promise you, you'll start converting about 10% of your database on an annual basis. And that is a conservative fact. Okay. So now when they got that down, Debbie, one of the next things I'll do if they're brand spanking new, I have them volunteer to do open houses for listing agents who are veterans and just don't want to go to open house on a Sunday this week. They want to go to the football game or something. Do the open houses, learn how to work with the buyers. I know you want listings, we all do, but go to open houses, get some buyers, get some transactions on your table. I tell you, I have an agent still does this today after 14 years, and she does about 2 transactions a month doing open houses for other agents in the office. Isn't that amazing? So now there's other things we can do, but they're more involved. But those 2 things right there. Oh, the third thing, join associations. Join a kayakers club, a bikers club, whatever you enjoy to love yourself, to do yourself personally. Like I'm all over the map, skiing, golfing. If there's a toy I can play with outdoors, I'm going to do it. So find something that you're passionate about, join a club that's run it, and then just make sure in conversation everybody knows what you do. You don't push them. Don't say, hey, can you give me a referral? Just say, hey, let's go kayaking. You're going to ask them how their business. They're going to ask you how's yours. Just do that. You'll get business that way. That's that third thing that is really important. Plus, you'll have fun. You know.
Right. I agree. I always say that do something, whatever it is, do it authentically, whatever it is you love. Whether it's tennis or golf or whatever it is, just do that because you'll meet the people that are like-minded and you'll just automatically connect and bond over your mutual admiration for whatever it is you're doing. I wish I golfed because I think that's a really great place, but I have no desire to golf.
I think it'd be fun. I don't golf to compete. I do it because it's fun. I enjoy it. You know what else I'm taking up?
I can't
Archery.
move. My husband plays, but I can't move that slow.
Yeah.
This is really great. Thank you so much. Okay, so what inspired your journey from executive transformational coach, which you clearly are, and speaker? So how did you journey from real estate and then into these coach and a
Sure.
keynote?
So, so I started teaching in person live classrooms all over the U.S. and Canada. And gradually people started reaching out to me and say, hey, would you come give a talk at our conference coming up? Like Equity Trust, they do the you can buy properties inside of an IRA. I would say sure. And other things. I spoke at NASDAQ, I spoke at Harvard. It just kept building. So I started saying yes. I wasn't a polished speaker. I'm still not today. I had some training with speaking, but what happens is my brain goes 10 times faster than my mouth. So you what you get is what you see is what you get. But they would pay me. And what I realized is people would come up to me every single time and say, look, that few $100s they charge me to come here and hear you talk, that's nothing. What do you charge to coach me? And at first I thought, well, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't coach. And again, my wife was like, you better start thinking about coaching. So I did. And first people would pay me like $1,000 a month. And then I realized that wasn't enough skin in the game. So instead of going to 25, which I eventually did, I said, you know what? You got to pay me up front, but it's going to be 10,000 instead of 12. Because when I did that, they would come to work every day and show up. They'd come to class, they'd do the assignments. And sure enough, my success rate went through the roof, actually. Other people that were doing the same thing said their success rate was like 0.3%. I'm like, what? A third of a percent? They said, yeah, that's sadly what it is. I'm like, that's ridiculous. So what I did, Debbie, I got tired of traveling around doing that, doing 3-day events because it'll burn you out, man. I'm telling you, it's hard on the human body too. You can't only eat but so much restaurant food. It was great staying in hotels, nice hotels. Never had to do laundry, never made my bed. It was great. But I wanted to be grounded again and travel on my own terms. So I
Right.
decided to do everything online, and I was teaching all the students online, and they would give me part of their commission. So here's where I made the big switch. I know this is going to freak people out. Um, I decided I'm no longer going to have people pay me up front because some people still they'd have hardships. Things get divorced, somebody would die, a baby's born, and you got to whatever, all kinds of things happen. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to have it be pay for performance. So I'm going to require 25% like a referral fee on their transactions. when they have a client buy or sell a property, which means I only get paid when they succeed. I know it sounds crazy, like why would you do that, Gary Wilson? I'm taking the risk that relieves them of that pressure and getting commission breath. I got to get a commission and take it anything. I want them to focus on the right areas with the right clients. I'm just going to tell you, you work with a client who's good with their money, you're going to be successful. But you work with clients who are not good with money, you're going to have some hard transactions. I'm not saying you won't be successful, but there's nothing worse than people that can't get financing and you can't do anything about it. Now there's programs, and I'm not saying there's programs for them, but that's long term. What I'm talking about is if they want transactions now, they need to identify who are the people that have good credit scores and have money. Well, we know how to do that today, So I bought this system. Everybody gets access to it on my team. I pay for it. They don't pay for any of my stuff out of pocket. 100%. Gary Wilson either built it or bought it, and they get it for free. They just have to pay me when they earn commissions, a referral fee up to a certain amount, by the way. And that I at first I made less money, but I was building some really neat relationships. Now that model's been 5 years, and wherever I go, I've got people always saying, "Just stay at my house." I'm like, okay.
No.
I don't have to pay for a hotel, but the thing is, I don't like staying in a hotel. Debbie, I stayed in so many hotels. I had 2 million points with Marriott. I mean, now I would go in, they would treat me like a king. Hey, we're going to upgrade you to the presidential suite. And the first thing I knew, but
So
I miss being at home. I love being in Airbnb.
yeah.
I want to be at home with home cooked meals. I don't want to eat at restaurants,
So Gary, we only have a few seconds, but I just want you to offer your Wednesday night workshop that you offer and invite people to come join your team and just share that with
Oh,
us.
sure. It's actually it's Monday night. It's called Monday Night Live, and it's 7 p.m. Eastern every Monday. So it's going to be 4 p.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. if you're out in Hawaii. So can we give them the link on the show notes or anything like that, Debbie? Or
Yeah, but you
okay,
can say, and I'll add it. Oh,
yeah.
yes, I'll add.
I actually don't even know what the link is because it's so long. It's a computer link, but it's free, guys. All we do is teach. We don't sell anything. We don't recruit anybody. It's just straight up education in real estate. It's not all investing. 2/3 of my team's transactions are not even investor transactions. But come to class. It's the best place to start. Also go to globalinvestoragent.com. You can see the agents. You can see the people that work with me in coaching. You can get some free information. Listen to the podcast. Get some free books. Get everything you can for free. I give a lot of stuff away for free. Get all you can get. Because if you work with me, I want it to be because you know it's the right thing for you. Not because I said it, but because you know it, because you did your research. You read a book. I've got 8 books out there. Take your pick. Read Global Investor Agent. That's the best-selling book. It's the latest one. And it's people. I get calls today, even though it came out 3 years ago on that book.
Well, we will put all those links in the show notes. And thank you so much, Gary Wilson. This was incredible. The hour just flew by, and you have just such incredible advice. And I'm going to try to get some of my agents to join your Monday Night Live. And thank you for having me on your show to present a few times. I would love to come back and do some more trainings. And well, congrats on your new home. And I wish you, thank you, Gary, so much.
Thank you, Debbie. God bless you and all your listeners. And everybody have a great day. Carpe diem.
Absolutely.
Tune in each week for another episode of Mastering the Art of Success with host Debbi DiMaggio. Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. Real stories, real strategies, real success.